Okay. So today's topic is how to build a business that runs without you. That's like a dream, right? So I'll give you a full breakdown right now, the reality check. I can't cover everything in 1 hour. Okay. It's like not enough time. But I'm hoping that by the end of it, you're not overwhelmed, but you see the light, like a direction. You're like, okay, I know. And then also a few action items that you can take because I want everyone to leave every one of my sessions to have something to do so you can move forward. It's not, oh yeah, I got everyone pumped up. Let's do this. And then you forget about it. Usually like the workshops and conferences I've been to in the past. Everyone's excited, and then next week you're like, okay, what was it again? What would I have to do? So I get that. A little bit about myself for those that don't know. So I'm Dave. I'm the founder of Design Source Media, which is a web agency, and a founder of DSM Talent, where we help other agency owners and business owners find talent in the Philippines. And I've been running my agency for over 14 years now. I currently manage a team of 21. I'm a husband, father of 4 young kids. So let's talk about small business, right? Most of us, unless you run a corporation, a huge franchise that we don't know of, but majority of us are small business owners, right? And I believe that it's defined by any business that has less than 250 employees, right? So that's considered small. So what percentage of small businesses fail? Let's look at the stats, okay? First year, 20.4% of businesses fail. The fifth year, 49.4% of those businesses fail. And then the 10th year, 63.3% of those businesses fail, right? This is according to the US Bureau of Labor. Okay. So it's not that these business owners, I'm sure they're not lazy or they're not like unintelligent or even it's not like they don't love what they do, right? Majority of business owners, businesses, they're like, hey, I have a passion, I have a drive, this is what I'm good at. Where do I want to start a business? Or some for other reasons. Hey, I don't like my boss. I quit and I want to go start my business and be my own boss, right? That's a trap. Okay, I'll tell you that right now. It's a trap. Don't do it. And so I'll tell you a little story about how my journey and everyone's journey, I'm sure here is different and will be different if you're gonna look at the next 10 years of your life. So that was me over 10 years ago. I was exhausted. I was beat up. Imagine like I was working, it's full circle now. When I first started, I was working at my house and then I finally got this office. This office was a 400 square foot room. Okay. That's how big that room is. So think of a tiny little room, no windows, nothing. And it was me and my buddy. And we were working out. And that was me in my corner office, right? Literally in the corner. And it sucked. And during that time, I was a little too ambitious. I started the web agency. Then I decided, you know what? Web agency, you know what websites need? They need photography, right? And I have a good friend that's a photographer. Why don't I convince him to join me and start a photography line? Terrible idea. Don't do that. And then at the same time, I was running an IT branch of the business, and my logic back then was businesses, when they're working with IT services, they must need websites. So we're going to offer IT services and website services. Great. And so these were our flyers back then, and we even had like baby photos. It was crazy. It was like thinking back, my buddy, he was the photographer, and he would advertise and promote the photography photos. And but because he didn't really focus or didn't have much experience in business, neither of us did. I remember this conversation that we had. He said to me, Dave, why do we need to sell so much? What are you talking about? Why do we need to promote and offer all these? Because we need the cash flow, right? That's what a business is all about. And what I realized was that my good friend, he was used to working for corporate, and he was an amazing photographer, but he didn't think about the business aspect of it. You need to ask for business. You need to highlight and show like what you offer. And so that was me like over 10 years ago, almost 14 years ago. And things have changed quite a bit. Oh, thank you, Mo. I've dismantled a lot of it. I've sold off my IT business. My friend and I, we parted ways. He focused on his career, and I focused on web for quite a long time. And I stuck with my core and I niched down. So what Agency U has talked about niching down, they're right. I didn't have Agency U 14 years ago. If I had, I wouldn't take this long, all right, to get to where I'm at. So definitely listen to your coaches. They're right. That niche down. And so another thing you may not consider before we get into the meat and potatoes of how to build a business that runs without you, you want to think about what kind of business do you want to run? What is the founder's intent, right? There's a few types of businesses that business owners ultimately, and it could change over time, okay? So I'll share that right now. There's lifestyle business. Like, hey, I started this. You can see like the small mom and pop shops. Like I started, I need some income, or I accidentally fell into this, and now I'm making money. Yeah, it's just this is my lifestyle, and I could still get to travel. I get to work remotely. I'm not looking to make a ton of money. Yeah, who doesn't want money? But this is my lifestyle. So that's what I would call like a lifestyle business. So it aligns with their current way of life. Then you have the small giants, right? Like the high purpose businesses, companies that could have gone franchise or multi-location route, but they chose to stay small. You can probably think in your area, there's probably that one like large, like exclusive like restaurant or business that people would drive 2, 4, even 10 hours or even fly in just to go to that location. All right. Because they're popular or they're known for a certain type of food or they're known for a certain type of clothing, right? That's the small giants. And then you have the gazelles, right? Tech startups. They're getting venture capitalists, they're angel investors. They're looking to scale really quickly and generate a lot of ROI. And either they day one, they're planning to scale or to sell the business, right? That's the gazelle. And then finally, you have the family legacies, right? They're like, hey, I have a family business. I've been given a family business, or I'm starting a business, and I want this to be generational. I want to pass this on to my kids, pass this on to my other family members, right? You can see that in some of the restaurants, right? So that's that. So you want to think about right now, what type of business do you want to become, right? What is your goal? What's your objective, right? And the things that you learn at Agency U and what I'm going to be teaching you, how to build a business that runs without you, it applies to all of these, but the way you build it, the who you hire, the systems, the structure, the scale, it's going to be different for each category. Okay. So in chat, can you put down which one? Just put down lifestyles, small giant, gazelle, like family. So thank you. So yeah, we're talking. So I got some lifestyle, small giants, gazelle, small giant, lifestyle. Love it. And when I first started, I started with a really good buddy of mine, and he's still a very good friend of mine today. And we didn't see eye to eye on how we wanted to grow the business. So just a side note, if you have a business partner, you want to talk to your business partner about this. Because if you want to grow a gazelle and they want a lifestyle business, there's going to be friction, right? It's essentially saying, I want kids, but they don't want kids. Don't do that, right? So you want to identify, even for yourself, what do you want? And then if you know what you want, then you can communicate that, articulate that, and lead your whole organization for that goal. Okay. So the entrepreneurial myth, right? This is very common, right? I'm the hero. I'm doing everything, right? Instead, we want to build systems. And we talk about that over and over again, right? Agency U and in a lot of my sessions, right? They fail because the owner is really getting stuck doing everything themselves, right? Doing the work and and building the business are two completely different jobs, different roles. right? So what got you here won't get you to the next level. It won't get you there, right? You have to change. So actually, this is so for those that are curious, I highly recommend reading the book E-Myth by Michael Gerber. And because a lot of this content, a part of it is from that book. So if you want to get into a deep dive into this information, I recommend reading that book. So for business owners, founders, there's usually three areas that they fall into. They usually start off as the technician. They're really good at that one thing. Oh, you're really good at shooting video and editing video, and you're creating really good content, right? You're really good at getting engagement on social. You're really good at building that website. You're the technician. That will only get you so far. You cannot build a business that runs without you at that point. Now, the manager. So now you've leveled up and you're starting to think, okay, management duties. Okay, who do I hire? Can I hire that video editor? Can I hire that admin? Can I hire that designer? So now you're managing, right? But at the manager level, the problem that I see, the jump from technician to manager, is that they abdicate. They're like, okay, they wait too long. They wait until I'm drowning. I have too many edits. I have too many websites to build. And so I need to hire. And then they abdicate. They're like, okay, I hired you as a developer or I hired you as an editor. I expect you to do your job. What does that mean? What is your job, right? Yeah, sure. You hired me as an editor, but every agency, every business that needs an editor has different styles of editing, different processes, different programs, different systems. You can't expect that. You can't just drop them in the deep end and say, here, good. That's abdication, right? And so learning to be a manager, a good manager is key, right? Understanding each individual's, for example, the difference between a good manager and a bad manager, I can tell immediately is that does the manager change their way of communication based on the person that they're talking to? If the person they're talking to and they're managing or they're coaching, if they prefer like direct information, right? Don't sugarcoat things, then the manager will adapt to that communication. But if the person's they want more contact, they want more information, they want stuff, more details, then the manager needs to change that. That's the skill that you would need to have. And then finally, the entrepreneur. So this picture, the reason why I put this picture in there is like they're looking in, they're looking forward, they're looking in the future. What's going to happen 3 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years? And if you're a Japanese company, it's going to be 30 years, 50 years into the future. That's how far they look out, right? So I want you to think of it this way: past, present, future. In the past, you're really good at doing this. That's why you started. This is present every single day, your ops. In the future, visionary, entrepreneur, looking into the future. You need all three for you to build a business that runs without you. Okay. I didn't say this was easy. Okay. So, does everyone understand the concept so far? Is it hard to swallow? Are you looking at yourself like, oh, man, where am I? Shoot, I have a lot to do. Okay. So, just in chat, which of these roles are you stuck in right now? You got technician, manager, entrepreneur. Some are just naturally good at one. Like they might start off with, I'm a killer entrepreneur. I'm a visionary, right? When I say that, I'm a visionary. The technical and the management, not so much. Yeah. Okay. So I'm seeing, yeah, technician. That's very common. That's, I would say, the most common. You started the business because you're so good at doing that one thing, right? Yeah. When I first started, I worked in corporate America. I was in a cubicle programming in front of two little computer screens, coding away, working in databases and software. I was a technician. I've never done a sales call in my life. I didn't go to school for marketing. I went to school for software engineering. So I was extremely technical. I didn't even know what a chamber of commerce was, right? Managing people, but I did want to. So I was listening to podcasts and reading books about how to become a manager because to follow the corporate ladder, right? Oh, eventually I want to be a manager. Eventually I want to be an executive, a CEO, right? So I started thinking about that even in my corporate journey. So thank you for sharing. So now let's look at the business development phases, right? Infancy. You are the business. You do everything. It's fun until it's exhausting, right? Anyone that have kids, you can see that, right? They're excited. They have a new toy. They start playing with it until they're tired of it. Like, "Ah, I'm done. I'm hungry now." Then the adolescence, right? You hire help now, but you start abdicating. You don't delegate properly, right? Quality starts dropping and you panic and you start taking back the work. Don't do that, right? So that's the jump, right? And finally, maturity, right? This is where you really want to be. The business knows how to work, right? It's built on a broader perspective, not just the owner's effort. So maturity is really not about the age of the business. It's about how you run it, right? Even though this looks like it's through age, time does help. But everyone here, like I said earlier, I wish I had agency programs like this, because it took me a long time to figure all this out through a lot of business books, leadership books, and a lot of education and a lot of coaching. It doesn't have to be 14 years for you. It could be in the next 12 months, right? Depending on how aggressive you want to be. And of course, the every situation is a little different, but it could be the next year or next 5 years. And one thing, don't hit the adolescence wall and shrink back down to infancy, right? And then you fall into the technician burnout or you go bust. Anyone hear about that one friend that started a company but decided, hey, I got a full-time job now? Anyone heard that? Anyone know anyone like that? Right? That's what happened. They started off infancy, they hit adolescence. They're like, whoa, this is too much. People are stupid. They don't get it. They don't understand me. And you go back, and fires are happening everywhere. You know what? I'm just gonna go back to 9 to 5. Right? Okay. Entrepreneurship, business ownership is not for everyone. Okay. And John, you mentioned it yourself. Okay, you can't go back. Great. There's fire under you. You can't go back. You're too deep. Yeah. So now there's only one path forward. So let's move forward. In chat, what phase are you in? Infancy, adolescence, or maturity? Nice. Love it. So another thing you want to think about in your business is the franchise thinking, right? Big Mac. It's the same everywhere in the world. Tastes the same, no matter where you go, whichever country you go to, right? Even though you may not plan to, let's say, build a gazelle, because it's just Roxanne here that wanted to, right? It doesn't mean you shouldn't think like a franchise. You shouldn't think in bigger terms. So everything that you're building, quality control, consistency, without you, needs to look, feel, taste the same, right? Just like that Big Mac everywhere you go, just like the fries, the Big Mac, right? Let's see. If your business depends on you grinding nonstop just to survive, you don't own a business, you own a job. Right? You have to build a business like you're going to franchise it. Or another way to look at it is you need to build a business to sell. And if you can't build a business to sell, and the only thing you have to sell is your book of business, which is your basically your client list, and in some venture capitalists or some investors can just gut your business, basically gut your baby, how would you feel about that? That'd be terrible. But if you build a business that can hold its own and continue to grow year after year, not only is it more valuable, but it decreases your chances of your business being gutted after it's been bought out. Okay. So now that, how would you do it, right? Like, how would you build a business that runs without you? You want to share? What do you think? What's your thought on that?
I'd say hire and promote. Continue to promote leaders within your team so they can help you get stuff done.
Okay. Hire and promote. Yeah. Thank you, Uni. What else? So John says systems. Noah says every step. What else? How do you think you're gonna do it?
Video recordings and SOPs.
Okay, video recordings, SOPs. Yes, very good. Got to transfer all that knowledge. What else?
I would imagine that you want to take, you would want to take as much of people's personalities out of it as possible so that you could fit people in like cogs in a machine. I know that doesn't sound very good, but I think
Yeah, I get what you're going. Yeah, it's like stick them in. Here's I guess, a way I present it. You want to put the right people in the right seats on the bus, right? So, not necessarily don't take their personality away because that's like taking their superpower away. Every person has a superpower. So you just need to make sure that you understand their superpower, their creative powers or their technical powers, and put them in the right position. So don't take it away, but you have to first formulate what are those openings? What are the seats in your bus? Or let's say you're trying to build a big cruise ship, right? Which position should they be on the ship? Someone said, close more deals at market rate so you can afford to hire out and place in your system. Yes, absolutely. Don't shortchange yourself. Make sure you bill enough. One mistake I've seen a lot of business owners do is they charge just enough. They're like, oh, yeah, I came from corporate and I was only getting paid 20 bucks an hour. So I'm going to charge $35 an hour. I'm like, no, you don't realize you're running a business here. And with that rate, can you hire someone to replace you for the work that you're doing? And so they essentially built their own trap. So they've trapped themselves and they're stuck working another job. Yeah, Stefan, very good. So here's how I would do it, right? Here's the secret sauce. First and foremost, stop being the superhero who does everything. Just stop it. You're not the hero here. Okay? Don't try to be. You're not Superman, you're not gonna stop bullets, all right? You're gonna get pulverized. Okay. Stop the mindset that if you don't do it, it won't get done. That's what keeps you stuck, right? So step one is really start writing things down. Oh, who said that? Noah said that. So start writing things down. When you explain how to do something, don't just say ship the order, right? Write it down step by step, like you are teaching a friend how to cook a specific meal, right? Include every little detail so anyone can follow it. And then start training someone else to do it. And you're improving your recipe. You're adding notes to your recipe. When I say recipe, it's like essentially your SOPs, right? Your standard operating procedures. Don't just hand off work, hope for the best. You train someone using your recipe, watch them do it, and then fix the instructions until they get the results you do every single time. Okay? Every single time. And I know it's a lot of work. They're like, what are you talking about, Dave? I hired a video editor with experience, with 5 years, 10 years of experience. What do you mean I have to keep watching over on how they produce the end result? Yeah, yeah, it doesn't matter. Even if you hire an executive because they don't understand your business, your mission, your vision, your direction. So what the decisions that they make may not be wrong with the work and experience that they have, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's right in your business. And then set up templates, checklists, and schedules. Make it predictable, right? You want your business to run like a boring, well-oiled machine, not a crazy one-person circus, right? Similar to what John has mentioned. And then finally, just be patient, right? This doesn't happen overnight, but chipping away at little by little is how you eventually get your freedom back. So you have your SOPs, and where do I start, Dave? Which recipe should I start? Who should I bring on? So now let's talk more about that. So you have these pieces like life goal. What is your primary aim? Do you want your what do you want your life to look like? The business is just a vehicle. So we already discussed that earlier. Strategic objectives like metrics, like money, for example, or time or health, right? What that serves your primary aim. What's your organizational strategy? What's your org chart? And in your management strategy, how do we treat people and run the system? Believe it or not, there are businesses out there that are very successful, but they treat their employees like crap, right? I'm not going to name names, but you know who they are. They're huge, right? But yet they're so successful. So it's really ultimately your choice, right? You're the one that's driving the ship. Do you want to run a business like that, right? I don't. You can. Because if, for example, one extreme case is all I care is about the money, all I care is about like the every single dollar, and I need to hire certain individuals that can do that. And the moment they fail, they're out and immediately hiring someone else to replace them. And that's how we operate, right? And you can even say it's a well-oiled machine, which technically it could be, right? But you want to think about how you want to manage, your organization and the culture that you want to build. So that's more of a different topic for another day. And then the people, right? Like how we hire, how we train to the system. And then marketing strategy, like how we find and keep customers systematically, which agency helps a lot with. And then other systems like software, come out with ideas, the technology behind it, and how and your information. How do you track all that information? Right? Think of if you're running a restaurant or a McDonald's, it's your point of sale system. Right? So you want to think about all these steps as you're building up business. So now we mentioned who do we hire, right? I would start off with an admin. Okay. The admin will cover a lot, but mainly because if let's say you're running your business by yourself, or even if you have some contractors, there's a lot of administrative work, a lot of research, a lot of other things that your admin can help you with. And you'll see as I progress down the line here. So apps, what's apps? Like we're talking about the designers, the video editors, the technical staff, right? The web developers. So that's ops. So you start hiring ops. Then, oh, there's a typo. Ryan, can you update this real quick? It's supposed to be, I believe, sales and marketing. Yeah. So sales and marketing would be the third one. And then after that, it's finance, right? You want to make sure you have your books in order, you're not blowing away all your money and stuff like that. John, yes, question.
Yeah, so I'm curious. So in my business, we actually, the thing that was sucking up the most of our time was a certain portion of operations. So I'm curious, like you're saying that you hire admin first. What's the reasoning behind hiring admin before some certain operations?
Yeah, okay. So looking at the chat, when I asked where everyone's at, are you a technician, manager, entrepreneur? I'm seeing technician, technician. That's what I'm seeing. Okay. In order for you to get out of technician, you need to start documenting all your processes, like how you do things, how you edit video. What kind of agency are you? Like,
Yeah,
what type of
so
agency do you
we
run?
have a social media marketing agency. It's a lot of videography, content creation, video editing, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Video editing was just taking up so much of our time, so we hired an editor, uh,
Mm.
and that's where we're at. And
Yeah.
like for the admin work, we do a lot of the admin work, but I'm curious to get your feedback on it.
Yeah, so I'll use that exact example. So as a social media agency, you're doing all the social media content, the videos, the ideation, and the video editing, yes, is sucking up all your time. So let me ask you a few more questions. In your video editing, what tool do you use? What's your editing tool?
So my wife and I run the business together. It depends on what kind of video that we're trying to produce because we have different types. It's
Yeah.
either going to be like CapCut templates or DaVinci Resolve or Premiere, depending on what the needs are of
Oh, okay, okay. So you decided to go hard mode. Okay, great. So three tools, because every tool you add on adds complexity to your system. Okay. So every tool you add on, you add complexity. So you're looking at CapCut, DaVinci, and was it Premiere, right? Adobe Premiere?
Yeah,
Okay.
our editor uses Premiere and I use
Oh, okay.
Resolve.
So
My wife uses
yeah.
CapCut.
Okay, so there you go. So you have three different tools for different use cases. Usually, I'm no expert in video editing, but from what I hear, a lot of people use, for example, DaVinci for color grading, right? DaVinci is supposed to be really good at that, right? CapCut, really easy to use. Premiere, a little bit of a learning curve, right? So you have templates and you have ways and certain styles that you edit video using these different tools for different use cases. You bring on an editor, and you need the editor to basically do all the editing work for you. This editor only knows Premiere. He doesn't necessarily even know all the tools and the templates and all that stuff. So what you need before you bring on that editor, you should, is to have the documentation in place on how you do things.
Yeah,
You
so
are the technician,
the
right?
reason that we use Premiere at all is because we brought on an editor and he brought his experience and we adopted what it was that he was doing.
Oh,
And
okay. So that could be very
he's kind of
dangerous.
telling us what to do, and we don't tell him what to do. So we're following his process.
Okay, okay. And is this editor very experienced?
He's very experienced and
Okay,
he's
so
very
that
good
helps
at what he
out.
does.
Okay, very good, very good. So that helps. So here's another key thing though, okay? So it's good that you found a very experienced editor. Now you potentially could run into another problem. Your editor is good at, so your editor is a technician. It's the same trap that a lot of business owners are in. They're in the technician mode. They might not be good at managing. And if they are not good at managing, aka when you scale, you hire more editors, right? They don't know how to train another editor. And if you don't know how to use Premiere, we have a problem, don't we?
So
Right?
would you say that it would be in would it be better for me to in a hypothetical scenario, would it be better to bring on somebody who's maybe less experienced or whatever? Because this guy is pretty expensive because he's an artist. Would it
Mm.
be better to bring on somebody who is just going to follow our process and we teach them, or would it be better to bring someone on that was just a really good editor? What is
Not
that?
necessarily. It's the work that you're willing to do based on those two scenarios. If you bring on, let's say, okay, so let's just use CapCut as an example. Your agency before hiring anyone was CapCut. You're using CapCut as a tool. And then if you choose to hire someone that's not even would say entry level, but maybe at least 2 years of experience, they are familiar with CapCut, then you have the SOPs, you have the processes. This is exactly how we use CapCut. These are all the little settings that we configure. This is how we create the shorts, all the way down to the details. And this, you hand that off to your junior editor, and they'll be able to take it from there. Okay. So that's the type of work that you need to do there. Now, you have a senior editor. There's nothing wrong with that. But the way you develop, you still have to build the system. So now your time and effort will be spent talking to the senior editor and say, all right, I want to learn and understand how you get these amazing results. I want you to systematize your creative process. Now, for a creative, that might be like pulling teeth. It may be extremely difficult. They may be really defensive. They may push back. All right. Because it might be their ego or whatnot. But you have to keep pushing. You have to understand, go into details, and basically be able to clone your senior editor. And so now we go back to the admin part. Remember, you're doing everything else too, right? You're doing sales and marketing, you're doing finance, you're doing legal, you're doing HR, right? You're doing all that stuff. And now you're talking to your editor and you have to document all these systems. You have to organize all of this stuff. Who's going to do it? If you don't have an admin, guess what? You're going to do it. Sucking
Right.
up all your time.
Yep.
Make sense? We have a yes question.
First of all, I apologize if my mic was on, so I'm sitting here eating lunch, so hopefully it wasn't interrupting
Oh no,
your
that's all good.
session.
That's all good. Man, you're gonna make us hungry though.
Sorry,
A
but
pretty good
what John is
video
talking
setup
about,
in your studio there. Looks nice.
it's just a purple light in the background. It's nothing fancy. Thank you though, John. But yeah, I wanted to chime in, but then you end up explaining it. But what John was saying, I did, and then had to pivot to what you're saying. So hired an editor because you do have to get out of the editing. I'm stuck editing everything.
Yeah.
But then the editor needs to know the process, how to edit the creative styles
Yeah.
and everything. So then now I'm back to pivoting to my admin helping me build out the SOPs for different offerings.
Yeah.
Just wanted to add some validity to what you were saying, Dave.
Thank you, Keith. There you have it, right? The man himself. So I've been through it. I've seen so many agencies go through it. I have battle scars, PTSD from it. Don't do what Keith and I have done. Learn from our mistakes. We have another question from Isaiah. This is great. I love the questions. Would you recommend a good editing agency or find a VA editor to bring on in-house? That's a great question. Isaiah, it depends. I know my teacher used to say this to me and it drives me crazy, but I will give you the reason why it depends. Isaiah, I don't know what your agency is. So maybe you are a video agency yourself, or you might be like us, like a video agency. I'm sorry, a web development agency. Like we don't need a necessarily a full-time developer. We don't have a lot of video editing to do. Or you're a brand new agency and you're like, I don't have a lot of budget. I'm still trying to figure this out. Just trying to figure out the proof of concept. Then at that point, if you're still figuring it out, or this is not your core business, then partner up with another good video agency or hire a really good contractor. Okay. But if it is your core, your business, or you want to move into that space and start offering video editing services, or you want to really beef up your, let's say, your marketing team, where you need a full-time editor at that point for your own internal marketing, that is when you should start bringing on a editor in-house. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm a video and ads agency, so that's why I was curious on should I
Yeah.
go in-house? I have an in-house editor right now,
Yeah.
but was thinking about going the agency route because it's a little cheaper. I was just curious on that. So I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
it's cheaper in a way in the beginning because like they go by project or per video. But in the long run for scale, it's not cheaper. It's actually quite expensive.
Makes
So
sense.
what
Okay.
so what you could do is start hiring full time, like for us, it's in the Philippines, right? So we place a lot of Filipino video editors that work full time for the agency. So that way, it's not about the metric isn't about, oh, I'm paying you X amount of dollars per video. They're part of the team, they're an employee now, and they're thinking about how can I produce more output and be more effective per editor, right? And they're thinking about that and for the team itself. So that is how I would scale, especially if I was running a video agency, because the trap that you'll potentially fall into is if you work with, let's say, like you already have a full-time editor. So if you start working with another video agency and yeah, they're really good, they're really amazing, and but you need to scale and you need speed. That's another thing too, or quality control. Okay. At that point, you lose that when you ship it out to another company. And this is your core business. And at that time, you're like, oh, shoot, maybe David was right. I should have brought on a full-time hire at that point or started building a full-time team. Then at that time, what do? All those SOPs that you should have been building, it's been shipped out to this agency. Oh, this agency is handling all the editing for you, and it's almost like in this black box. So you don't know what this agency is doing. So at that time, now you have to rebuild what you should have done today. Make sense?
It does, yeah, because I
Right?
definitely fall in the trap of having to work with the editor back and forth, like you said, the admin stuff. So that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So go all the way down to this is exactly the program that we use. These are exact templates. This is our whole creative process. These are the systems and AI tools and agents, all the way down to the details. But you won't get that if you sub that out. But you get the benefit of, hey, I'm just going to send this over and then they output quality work. That's great, but this is your core business. That's the difference. I'm gonna go with Roxanne. I see your hands up too, John, but let me go with Roxanne because she sent out the chat earlier. How do you go from making SOPs to inspiring your team to build a system the way you want? That's a loaded question, Roxanne. So you start with the so SOPs. You know what? One trick I do, and also it's awesome. I don't build the SOPs anymore. My team does. You let your team take full ownership of the SOP. You know what you do? You're the guidance counselor. You're the mentor. You're the coach. You're reviewing. You're the auditor. You're like, and you're the one that pokes holes at it, right? That's my favorite thing to do. I poke holes at it, at things all the time. Like they bring something up to me, Dave, what do you think about this? I'm like, let me see. Oh, what about this? What about that? What about that? Bring it back to me tomorrow with the updated version. And then after a while, they could probably wear a little bracelet saying, what would Dave say? Okay. Yeah, Marian's my EA. She gets it. Okay. What would Dave say? And after a while, and imagine you keep doing this day in and day out, everyone will basically understand what you're trying to do. But it's a marathon, not a sprint. You keep repeating yourself like a broken record. Okay. And I do a lot of one-on-one. I do a lot of monthly meetings, departmental meetings. As you scale, it gets a little bit easier because now you're talking to the leaders of your organization, not to every single person directly. Because if you train your leaders properly, you promoted them to leadership position, then they'll be able to do exactly what you've done for them. So think of it this way, like it's passing it forward. You're investing in your team in hopes that they will do the same for future hires. And one of the things I talk about is, what I'm teaching you today, what I'm coaching you today, all I ask is when we bring someone else on, right, you do the same thing for them. Pass it forward. So I hope that helps, Roxanne. Keith, yeah, for me, I have and want a dedicated editing partner on more meaningful corporate brand videos, batching short form content. Some agencies can get the job done with guidance. Yeah, Keith, one thing I forgot to mention, if let's say you're a video agency, but there's certain things that are outside your scope or overflow work, agency partners are a great thing to have, right? We're not competitors here. There's plenty of video agencies, even in this call, right? We're not competitors here, right? We can collaborate. There's Everyone has a special niche too, right? And there's plenty of work to go around. So start collaborating, right? So then ultimately we all win and we all grow. And so John, I'm gonna answer your question, and then let's go with Noah after. John, question.
Yeah, I actually just had one comment and one question. One of the comments is just, I've heard that making an SOP for creating SOPs is like a game changer. That way you don't have to be directly involved in it, which is exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah.
But then that was my comment. And then my question has to do, I don't know if you remember, but hiring a video editor, you were talking about hiring video editors in the Philippines.
Yeah.
And I was curious your opinion on hiring a video editor in the US versus a video editor in the Philippines or some other country, because the video editor that we work with, he's based in the US. And one of the things that I love about that is that he's in the same time zone that we're in. And then also he speaks our language. We have a lot of common history and things like that. And I wanted to get your feedback about the pros and cons of doing both of those things because we're really concerned about quality.
Yeah, absolutely. And Noah already touched on that. His editor works the same time zone. So does my full team. I am the living proof that it's possible to run a business fully remote and all in the Philippines. I am the only one in Michigan. Everyone else, and also rest of my team can close sales. They can handle the whole onboarding, operations, and ongoing support, right? Yeah, I go in and I help out, but it requires a lot of training, right? So here's the way I look at it, right? The Philippines, any other country, they're still human. It's not like they're from Mars, right? So you look at every person as a human being. But second of all, yeah, I get, John, there's a difference. The advantage of pros and cons for hiring locally is a cultural difference too, right? There's just different cultural understandings and there's just relevancy, like they get the locality and stuff like that. So I'm not saying don't hire local talent. Definitely do. You can complement, right? Complement your local editor and local, usually for hiring someone local is usually more client facing. You want to understand the local dynamics. That would help supercharge them by complementing video editors, let's say, from other areas. And yeah, you get the price cost advantage because you can hire let's say 2 to 3 Filipino editors for one editor in the US. So you have that advantage. But other than that, if you can build a team that is remote and not just local, you won't be restricting yourself, right? Even the US or even like hiring from like Canada or Mexico, right? They're so close, but you want to find the best talent, right? You can for your agency. So I wouldn't worry too much about time zone wise. Our team can work our time zone. We're in the East Coast, so that's not a problem.
follow up to that.
Yeah.
Do you feel that, like in Agency U, we're going through the modules and stuff. One of the big things is like outcomes they talk about. Your
Yeah.
entire offer is based on an outcome. Do
Yeah.
you feel like for a video agency, the outcome is affected by hiring someone from outside of the US, or do you feel like that's a selling point if you say, hey, all of our video editors are based out of the US? Do you think that is like a really a relevant detail, or do you think that as far as outcome is concerned, does it matter?
Does anyone care? Absolutely. All customers care about outcome. They don't care about how you built it. I go back to the example of the Big Macs at McDonald's. Do you really care that you're now in the UK and you got a Big Mac because you were hungry? Like you hope the outcome is, I want a Big Mac that tastes like the Big Mac in the US. But you might say they're in the UK that they can't make the Big Mac the same way that we do. But that's absolutely not true, right? I wouldn't say that. I would say just really understanding the nuances of each culture that you're working with, right, will help you grow and scale your business. Knowing the pros and cons. I'll give you some real examples. In the Philippines, the cons, there's typhoons, there's even earthquakes and volcanoes, depending on which island you're on. There's power outages. There's internet, slow internet, right? These are all cons. So as a business owner, what do? You figure it out. You mitigate, right? You have backup systems. You have additional battery. Heck, you can get a satellite internet, right? Starlink, right? They have access to these things. So it depends on how you want to invest, right? And build up your team there that way. Or just even your operations, how you can mitigate that if there was a typhoon going on, right? But even in Florida and Texas, right? We got hit with hurricanes, right? There's weather issues, right? So we have to plan for that. Culturally, the Asians or the Filipino people, they're extremely hardworking. I'm not saying Americans aren't, but I'm saying like I know, right? It's like, oh, no. The difference I noticed, I'm gonna get in so much trouble saying these things. Thanks, John. Is that the attitude that they, in general, right? I'm like stereotyping right now. The attitude that they look at work is that I want to serve and I want to do my best and I respect authority and I respect the elder. Okay. That's general theme, right? In Asia. But there's always a problem with that too, right? Us Americans, we're pretty direct, right? We're pretty straightforward. But to the point where sometimes they're afraid of providing they don't want confrontation. They don't want to push back. You know what they'd rather do instead? They would rather quit silently, ghost. They'll ghost you. So knowing that, you as a good manager, as a good leader, you need to develop your team, or your Philippines team, to say, hey, this is a safe environment. I know that you've been raised and your environment dictates that I'm always right, your boss, authority is always right. But no, I'm not always right. I'm actually the dumbest person in this room, right? You're way smarter than I am. And I need your help. I need your feedback, and it's okay. And whenever someone pushes back or holds me accountable, I say, thank you. Thank you for holding me accountable. Like even today, this morning, hey, Dave, if you're going to be late for the marketing call, please let me know so our team's not waiting. I thank her for it. All right. Because I got so busy planning for actually this call that I lost track of time to join our marketing call. But my team member, normally she doesn't, but she held me accountable today. I thank her for that. So it's not so much, it doesn't matter. And here's one of the things I say. It doesn't matter if you're from like a different country or from Mars, right? As long as you have the values, like the ethical, moral values, and you follow our mission, vision, and core values, right? That's what's most important. And for you as a business owner to become a good leader, good entrepreneur, manager, right, technician, you need to work on all these skills to level up your own organization. And that's ultimately what we're discussing here. Make sense? I know it's a lot, right? It's like, Dave, I just want the comparison, right? I just want a simple answer.
Yeah, I
Unfortunately,
appreciate
it's
that.
not.
Thank you.
All right, let's see. Question from Noah. How much do I give my first admin? I hired a project manager VA and felt a lot of friction. I had them managing a video editor and emailing clients. I still had to track things, remind people, fix handoffs. Tasks stalled unless I nudged them. Maybe it wasn't the right person. Yeah, you're right. No, it could be. When you say there was a lot of friction, expand on what you just shared.
Yeah, I know it was a minute ago, so I'm trying to give you the proper scenario. But essentially, I don't know, it seems like things would have gotten forgotten. I think I didn't give them enough decision-making power to where they could do things without me because I figured, okay, they can take some time off my plate. I know there's an onboarding period, but it still felt, hey, do these 10 things today. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, hey, you got those things done, right? And of course, there's responsibility on me, but I think I was maybe expecting too much out of them to be like an operator level versus just like doing minute tasks. So I guess it's almost, what's your opinion on, hey, do I just go ahead and get like a really premium VA, even if they're still like overseas, just to, I don't know, have a lot of responsibility for what needs to get done? Does that make sense at all? Or
It does. Yeah, the easier route is to there's a price for everything, right? You pay premium, top dollars, right? And they have that years and years of experience, but it doesn't mean they would still be good in your organization because at the same time, you may not know how to utilize that resource. If I gave you the keys to a Formula One vehicle right now, right, and say, hey, go on the track or start racing, you might kill yourself, right? I know I would. You're like, oh, this is so fun, right? I crash into a wall, right? Yeah, you bring on someone that's super senior, very well tuned, right? Like very well experienced and has done a lot, but you yourself as a leader can't handle that, right? They're gonna quit anyways. There's a book on the 21 Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell, and highly recommend everyone reading that book. We ask every new hire to go through all the laws together. And one of the laws is law of the lid. And basically, you cap yourself. Your leadership skills is basically the lid. You can't go beyond that. So you have to keep leveling up your leadership skills yourself. So yeah, you can hire someone with more experience. It will make your life easier, but make sure you continue to level up your leadership skills. But let's say you don't. You hire someone that is someone new. What I would do, rather than saying, oh, I need you to do better next time, or they say, I will do better next time, that's not good enough for me. I want to know what is the process, the system that we'll build to prevent that from happening again. Okay. So
yeah.
I'll give you an example. Oh man, I gave that person 10 tasks and they're always forgetting to do half the tasks. Okay. It's not them, it's me. Maybe the 10 tasks isn't even realistic. It won't get done in 8 hours in a day. All right. But I don't know that unless they communicate that with me. So I start teaching my team members different techniques. So one of the things that I use is the thing called time blocking. So you'll see in my calendar, or if you ever see my calendar, it's like Tetris. It's color coded. There's blocks everywhere of time, and I'm allocating. These are external meetings, internal meetings, family time, and lunchtime. And blue would be like just work that I'm doing. So I time block everything. And when I see that, and working on assignments, I have 10 videos to shoot today, but I only have an hour. That's not enough time because I have all these other meetings I have to prep for. That's not realistic. So right away, I can communicate to others and say, hey, these are the obligations I have. I can't do all 10 tasks, but I can do 3 of the 10. Are you okay with that? If not, let's reprioritize. So now, Noah, you're not saying do better next time. You're teaching someone how to fish. You're teaching them the system and the process to start being able to communicate with you and also help be on the same page and set expectations. And eventually, following up with what Roxanne said earlier, right? How do you inspire your team to building the system you want? This right here. You do these scenarios, right? You teach the individuals these systems and you hold them accountable and you stick to the system. And now let's say then you check back, are they time blocking? And let's say time blocking isn't enough. right? They need a little bit more work now. They need more work on, let's say, prioritizing or more details. One of the things you can do is at the end of the day, I want you to give me a list of the tasks that you've completed and then a list of the things that you plan on doing tomorrow. And then put little details on there because I'm busy. I don't want to like jump on a Zoom call all the time because it's a lot of time for both of us. But if you can just share that, I can give you feedback immediately. Okay.
Got
So
you.
build a system.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think some of the issue too was like I had hired slow, so it was like a 2 hour a day type thing, and I never knew like exactly when that was going to happen, and I felt like wrong for expecting it done right away when it's not like a full-time position. But the time
Oh,
blocking for the employees is pretty valuable.
yeah, yeah. So they were a contractor. They're only doing two like project-based work or hourly
Yeah,
work.
to
Yeah.
start, yeah.
But even if they're hourly or contract, at that point, you basically say, all right, I have this task I need you to do. I'm estimating these number of hours, right? There's a thing we use is called definition of done, the DOD. There's actually another session. I don't want to go too deep into it because we're going to run out of time. And I want to answer as many questions as I can. But that's one of the things that I share. This is the definition of done. And one of them is the hours, okay? Like how long this should take. Yes, John.
Quick question. Where do you like hire these people from? Because I don't even know where to look to find people that could do this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Admin
Okay.
or video
So
editing.
yeah, so what I'll share with you, I won't hold back, right? You can find so from the Philippines, you can find talent. There's a site called onlinejobs.ph. There's Upwork. There's social media, so there's different like Facebook groups. You can find talent too. Facebook groups. There's like video like Filipino editors, Facebook groups that you can post your openings on. Or you can work with my staffing agency and we take care of that for you. The difference is that we don't use these other forms as much now. We have our own following now. A little flex, one of our posts got 1 million views. Like we're doing like social posts on TikTok and Facebook in the Philippines market. So we're getting a lot of followers. And so that's how we get a lot of our talents. Just building a brand, right, in the Philippines. So that's how we do it. And so if you want to talk, I can help you with that too. Mao, yes, question.
Yes, super quick question, a bit off topic, but so I was always wondering, because obviously you hire someone, you start as a contractor, or most of the times when you're like starting your agency, you cannot like afford to hire someone full time or and pay like a salary. When you transition someone to more like a full-time role, how does that look? Like the structure, like how, like the payment structure, do you still, because I use Wise to pay my
Hmm.
contractors. What's the difference between a contractor and a full-time employee if they're remote? So let's say I hire this person via Upwork. Would
Yeah.
you just pay them a full-time salary via Wise, or would
In the
you
beginning, I
restructure?
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we send so much money now that we don't use Wise. I think we would hit the cap. So that's a different problem we're having. But for you, the difference between contractor and basically a full time, you want to look at it, it's no different than 1099 versus a W-2. Okay. For contractors, typically they're paid by the hour. You're tracking every single hour and you're tracking by the project. But for a full time, it's salary. So they're expected to work full 40 hours a week. They may or may not get benefits. Our team, all their talents, all get benefits. Like they might get social security, health benefits, and stuff like that. But the way you're doing it, if you're just transferring to Wise, you set a monthly rate. Okay, I'm paying you $1,000. I'm paying you $1,500 a month, and my expectation is 40 hours a week. And I'm giving you vacation days. Oh, I'm also giving you a 13-month pay. That's unique to the Philippines. If
Okay.
you pay with Wise. Makes sense? Yeah.
Okay.
Take care, Noah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So does that help? Questions there?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So I'll just continue on, and we're almost done, by the way. So this is the order: admin, ops, sales and marketing, finance, HR, IT, and legal. It depends on where you're at. And here's the reason why. Okay, I want you to follow me with this journey here. You start off as a business, you hire your admin, they're helping you out, but your admin They're helping with a little bit of project management, a little bit of ops, right? A little bit of sales and marketing. They're helping you prep your sales calls. They're helping you draft proposals. And admin, they're helping you, let's say, allocate your a little bit of bookkeeping, right, in your invoicing system. So your admin is doing a little bit of even HR, right? So your admin is doing all of these little things, not a full-time person, an expert in those areas, but your admin's helping you out, and at the same time, they're documenting all your work that you're doing, from your technical work to your managerial work to your vision and creating even your mission vision and core values, right? So they're helping you develop that. So you have your admin, and finally you're like, okay, I've hit a wall now, and the next wall is I need editors. I need more people to help me. And you may need help editing too, but it'd be faster if you had an admin, because now when you bring on your editors, you bring your technicians, you have SOPs, you have documents, you have systems that you can provide to your technicians. And guess what? You followed these processes and these systems already. You know what you're giving them isn't like something where it's okay, I just made it up through AI. I don't know if it works properly. I don't know if AI even hallucinated this stuff, this SOP, but I'm handing it over to you because I've used it and I know it works. And so now you're giving it to your ops. And remember, you're still doing sales and marketing. You're going to be doing sales and marketing for a while. But finally, you're like, okay, we need help. I'm building up a marketing team. I'm building up a sales team to start ramping up. So beefing up your authority funnel, momentum campaign, for example, you're hiring additional help here. And then finance, okay, I would not scale if you don't know your numbers, because that's a trap, okay? You don't know. And if you're the only way, and I've done this, okay? And I'm not embarrassed to say it anymore. You know how I used to manage my finances? I pull up my app, I look at my bank, and I see how much money I have in my bank. That was my management, okay? That was like my decision on how much I can buy or spend, right? And then what happens, right? Hold on. Then tax season comes, right? And then other things come. So that way you have your finance person, they take care of everything, you're looking ahead. So you're forecasting, you're planning, you're looking forward. So that's where finance comes in. And everything else, once you have these four roles really covered, then you need scale, right? What do you need to scale? You need additional help with HR, right? You're bringing on, maybe you might be bringing on 2, 3 people at a time now. Now you have equipment. You're issuing out laptops and equipment to all your new team members. So IT, you're going to start getting IT questions or support questions or technical issues. And then of course, legal, yeah, you might have a lawyer in the beginning. You may not be able to afford it in the beginning, but now the risks are increasing. You have more than 10 clients. You have 20, 30, 100 clients, right? Thousands of clients. Now the risk is increased, right? And it could be one little thing, you go into a lawsuit. So legal support, right? So that's how I would do it. If I went back in time, I had to restart all over again. Okay. So implementation roadmap, I would say for 1 week, do an audit. Take an hour out of your day and list every task you do. Label them by department, ops, sales, admin work, right? And then month one, first, pick the easiest low value tasks, right? Write a checklist, start delegating. And then month three, the manager shift. Okay? Stop doing the technical work, start managing the systems. Okay. So anyways, yeah, absolutely, John. Here's our site, it's dsmtalent.com. Feel free to book a call with us to talk about the placements. Thank you, John. So unfortunately, I have to stop here. My kids are hungry. They're like, Dad, there's no school today. Dad, I need to go eat. So I don't want to starve my kids. They're pretty hangry right now. But if you have other questions, feel free. I'm in Agency U. You can DM me with questions. And if there's any topics you would like me to discuss, I'm happy to cover that. Everyone, have a wonderful weekend and take care. See ya. Bye-bye.